Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So, you all must have seen Muslim investing content on Instagram, LinkedIn, and on all the social media platforms. But do you know who's behind it? So, we have today with us Muhammad Lambat. He's from New Zealand, and we have been colleagues in Zoya Finance. And I have known him since like few years. And I'll leave it to him to basically give his introduction. And Mohammed Lambat, how are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, sorry. I am down with flu. Oh, yeah, that's all.
No worries, no worries. I'll introduce myself. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Muhammad Lambat, the founder and content creator behind Muslim Investing. It's a platform I started about 5 years ago where I teach people about Islamic finance and halal investing. And really break down the misconceptions of halal investing. I think people find that there are a lot of barriers to entry. I try my best to make it as easy as possible to break down those misconceptions and teach people how to grow their wealth in a halal way. I've also recently launched the Halal Investing Academy, which is an online content education as well as community platform for Muslim investors, who are interested in further progressing, in terms of their education on Islamic finance and halal investing.
That sounds interesting, honestly, because obviously nobody can that easily make videos on Islamic finance. And honestly, telling you, when your videos came up, we used to show it to the people who work with us and tell them, you have to make such kind of content. That kind of an inspiration you are for everybody. And I'm sure most of the Islamic fintechs use your video to show them that this is the kind of content we need from
Yeah,
their
appreciate that.
people. Yeah,
It's been 5 years in the making.
Alhamdulillah. So, what actually inspired you to start this content creation about Muslim investing?
I graduated university with a degree in mechatronic engineering. Never worked as an engineer. I don't think I was super passionate about engineering. And so when I finished, I was trying to figure out what I was interested in, what I was passionate about. And I think finance, making money, investing, those sort of things I was really interested in. So I started looking into Islamic finance and halal investing. I had a very basic understanding. All I knew was no interest, like we don't invest in companies that, sell alcohol and pork and things like that. But that was about it. So I did a lot of research, and the only thing I could find online were long form articles, and you could find like books on Islamic finance. So I was like, let me create content, short form content that I would like to see, as well as let me document the sort of things I'm learning as I'm going across. So I started Muslim Investing just as a side passion project on Instagram. It was initially anonymous. I didn't tell anyone that I had started it, and it slowly grew out of there. And I think a lot of people resonated with that information. They wanted to learn about Islamic finance and halal investing, but didn't know where to go, didn't know who to trust. There was a lot of just long articles, but like nothing easily digestible. I think a lot of people resonated with Muslim investing, and alhamdulillah, it's grown over the years. My passion for Islamic finance has increased over the years. As you're aware, we both worked at Zoya, so I've worked in the Islamic finance industry, and I just really enjoy talking about halal investing and encouraging people that they can grow their wealth in a halal way.
Yes, definitely. That's something very interesting, and it's something niche in the market. And I'm sure people are still learning about it, and people are still interested to learn about this, since obviously we have seen that Islamic investments have proved to be slightly better than conventional ones when there is a crisis period.
For sure.
So people are getting attracted. So that's something good which is happening. And thanks to you and your videos, people are getting aware about what it is actually. So,
Yeah, for
how
sure.
has your own investment journey evolved over the years?
I think because I've been in the space for a while, I've learned about different opportunities and investment options, which I would have never learned about, I think, very early on. And so that's what my investment portfolio, my investment journey has evolved in the sense of I've added on different types of investments, I think, over the years. So initially we're just looking at like stocks, but I've looked also into now industries like crypto, real estate, crowdfunding, different options, VC investing, all of those sort of different avenues which I didn't have access to initially and wasn't familiar with. So that's sort of how my investment journey has evolved over the years. And also there have been more halal investment options that have come up as well, which I've seen, which is really cool, which allows Muslims to get into different things. So if you're not so keen on stocks, there are other different options you have, which is great to see.
Yeah, definitely. There are platforms which are coming up. But since you are from New Zealand, can you name a few which you have access to so that our listeners from New Zealand can actually access these apps?
I'll be honest, in terms of Islamic finance and halal investing, there's not much happening in New Zealand. However, what I do, I use, conventional investment brokers, which are just platforms that allow you to invest in stocks. And combine that with a halal stock screening app like a Muslim Exchange, Zoya, one of those, and invest in stocks that are halal, in the US market or in the New Zealand market as well. Um, and there are other platforms available globally that you can invest in from here as well, which I use. But in New Zealand specifically, the Islamic finance market is very new, not a great deal happening over here at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Even I think so it's the same case with Australia as well. They're also very new in Islamic finance, and very few apps are there through which people can make sure they are investing in halal financial
Yeah.
assets.
Yeah, and it's definitely a growing industry in Australia. They've got like a number of like even Islamic mortgage options, things like that as well, which is very cool to see. I think the interest is sort of increasing here in New Zealand. It's just at the moment no one has really, started a company per se in Islamic finance in like in a general sense anyway.
Definitely. So, did you face any challenges when you started talking about Islamic finance? Because I'm sure you must have faced it initially,
Mhm.
but once you picked up the pace, then everything should have gone good.
Yeah, yeah, so definitely. Like initially, even like so that when I started in my investing journey, there wasn't halal stock screening apps, for example. So we had the criteria set by like AOFI and the other standards. So I knew what to look for in terms of halal investments, but there wasn't apps to make that process really simple. So I would like manually look through annual reports and things like that just to find stocks that met the criteria, which took a lot of time and effort. I come from a finance background, so it wasn't so bad in terms of I knew what to look for. It just took a lot of time. And I think over the years, because of halal stock screening apps and halal ETFs and things like that, it's made the investment journey a lot easier. Another big one that I found was when I started out investing, I could only invest in whole stocks, and I didn't have like the capital straight away to invest. For example, like in a stock like Apple, I didn't have $115 straight away or $130, whatever the price was at the time, and there wasn't fractional shares available. But those platforms that have really opened up over the years, which makes it easier for people starting out today, both from just a normal investing as well as an Islamic finance point of view.
Yeah, definitely. But I have one more question regarding the same thing, the challenges. Did you the people who view your content, right? So, do you
Mhm.
receive some like common questions from them, or there is still some misconception with them which you have to clear through these videos?
Yeah, I mean, there are always questions and concerns that people have. Like, for example, with like the AOFI standards, the 5% revenue threshold, people are not sure why you can invest in a company that has some haram revenue. But then explaining, like, in reality, you have to purify that portion of the investments. And also, people tend to think that I come up with these rules and that I set the criteria when, I have to clarify a lot of the time that these rulings were developed by Islamic finance scholars, people way more experienced than me. And even similar with Islamic mortgages, I think people have a lot of concerns with how they operate. They look very similar to conventional mortgages. Are they really halal? I do my best to try and explain what I can. And, that always tends to pop up a lot of controversy with Islamic mortgages. Forex is another one. Those sort of things, people are always not 100% certain, but I try my best to clarify what I can.
Yeah, Islamic banking is little confusing for people. They still don't understand like how does it work? What's this profit rate? How does the mortgages work? So I'm sure these kind of questions you must be receiving, but nothing related to investments because that's like pretty clear now. Like there are two types of screening. It's straightforward.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have talked about Islamic finance, but you missed one thing. You didn't
Mhm.
tell us where exactly are you from? Like originally, where are you from?
So I live in New Zealand now. I was born and raised in the UK. I left with my family when I was 10. We lived in Malaysia for 12 years. My great grandparents are from India, so ethnically Indian, British nationality living in New Zealand. That's sort of me in a nutshell.
Oh, you are then from my own country. That's
All
good
right,
to know. Yes.
whereabouts are you from?
So I'm also from India.
Oh, which part?
I am from the north part.
Okay, I'm a Gujarati. My background is.
Oh, that's why finance came in.
The stereotype there with business and finance, yeah.
Yes, yes. So, okay. So, do you miss Malaysia? Which one was your favorite? Because you have lived in UK, Malaysia, and New Zealand.
I think they all have different qualities. UK would probably be on the lowest part of my list, the third option. New Zealand's great for, I think, the lifestyle's very good, very peaceful, lots of greenery, things like that. Malaysia is better in terms of there's more halal options, more things happening, better career options as well, if you know that's something you're interested in. I enjoyed that. My parents still live in KL, so it's a place I visit regularly, and I'll always love KL just because I grew up there as well.
That's nice. That's nice. So, do you get to enjoy the Indian culture as well,
Yeah,
living
I
in
mean,
these three countries?
yeah, I mean, I think wherever we are, there's always the Indian food options. There's always Indian food options, always Indians wherever you are in the world. So yeah, no, I enjoy the culture as well.
That's great. So, have you been to India?
Yes, I've been a few times.
Oh, that's
I
good to
went
hear.
first when I was, I think, 12. We visited quite a few different parts of India. Went back to the village where my great grandparents were from. But yeah, I enjoy India. It's a nice holiday, I think.
Yeah, since we are talking about India, I would like to ask the next question, something related to the demographics. So,
Hmm.
what do you think? Like most of your viewers, where are
Hmm.
they from? Are they from India? Because I have seen honestly a lot of people from India are more interested in knowing about Islamic finance as compared to other regions.
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. You're right. India, Nigeria, I think those two demographics have in recent times there's been a lot of interest in Islamic finance. In terms of my audience, there is a big variety. We've got from memory around 20% in the US, about 20% in the UK, about 10% in Canada, about 10% in Australia, 20%, I think I mentioned India already, and about 10% in Pakistan, and the rest is kind of mixed around the world. In terms of male female split, we've got about males about 70%, 30% females. So a good mix of, even ages as well as demographics in terms of audience. But I get a lot of questions from the Indian crowd in terms of specific Indian investment options and things like that. I have limited on knowledge when it comes to Indian investments, but I do my best to try and answer where I can and what I know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'm sure everybody will agree to this. Your content has been really engaging,
Hmm.
but I want to ask one more question regarding the same thing. How do
Hmm.
you make these complex financial topics so relatable, so engaging for your audience? Because I'm sure there is a lot of work. It's not easy to just make a video, sit in front of the camera, and just start talking. It's not
Yeah.
easy at all. And I would like to ask this question to you.
It's I mean at this point now I have a lot of experience making videos, but it did require a lot of I think initially there's the research process. There's a lot of research ideation in terms of looking for ideas, then seeing what ideas people want to know about, and then checking the different opinions on that, checking with people I know specifically in industry if there's something that requires like a fatwa, what their sort of opinion is on that. And I do my best. And if there is difference, for example, you can have a topic that some sides say it's halal, some say it isn't. I do my best to try and showcase both sides so that people can make their own decision as opposed to telling them this is what you should do or this is what is halal, unless it's a unanimous sort of decision. That process is probably the longest part. And then script writing, again, now I've got the experience. It doesn't take as long, but it did initially where I'm working on phrasing it in such a way that people would find it interesting. People will stick around for the content as well as understand the basic points because as you're aware, a lot of the finance concepts are quite, there's a lot of jargon. So I try and break that down as much as possible. The recording process is probably the quickest part at this point now, and then the editing, and then that's sort of my entire process of taking it from an idea all the way to publishing it on my Instagram.
I'm sure it's a tough journey, and it's not that easy to just decide the complex topics, write the script. But yeah, video recording is definitely must be easy, but you need to be confident to sit in front of the camera and talk in that way, which I'm sure not everybody has these capabilities.
Yeah,
So,
I prefer talking in front of a camera than in front of a group of people. So
okay, that's great. So, my next question is, how do you see blockchain and tokenization impacting the future of halal investing since we are dealing in the same thing?
yeah, I mean, like with like stocks, for example, and like the current financial ecosystem, inherently it is still a riba-based system. There is interest involved in the financial ecosystem that we are currently in. Crypto, I think, could potentially have a system that's closer to ideally what we'd like in terms of an Islamic finance sort of view. I think the technology is there. I think it's growing. There are a lot more Islamic finance companies popping up in the crypto space. I think they're realizing the decentralization aspect of it is really beneficial. The transparency as well is really important. A lot of Muslims want to see what's happening, what's happening with their money, where it's going, how it's being used, and I think blockchain allows that to happen. So in terms of an industry going forward, I definitely see potential in it, and I definitely see more happening in the Islamic finance space, in the crypto space.
Yeah, there is a lot of, but still there is a lot of misconception when it comes to crypto space because still we haven't received approvals, like proper approvals from the Sharia board to go ahead with these. Do you think people are still confused about investing into blockchain and tokenization?
Like you said, in terms of like the Sharia aspect of it, you obviously have the different sides of opinions. You have the one that says it's not halal, and you have the other that says, some are halal and some aren't. I think there's still a lot of learning when it comes to crypto and even investing into crypto. Stocks have been around for a while. It's very easy now, relatively, to, from a beginner to invest in a stock. Whereas in the crypto space, I think there's a bit of a learning curve in terms of how to do certain things to invest in crypto. It's not as straightforward. I think that's a big difference between the two. Yeah, comparing like stocks and crypto, for example.
Then what do you think is are the best sectors for Muslims to invest?
What I recommend to someone who's never invested before is to probably start investing with stocks and ETFs. ETFs, obviously, I think is a good one because it's diversified, low cost, but also look into other investments. You've got gold, you've got crypto as well. I think investing in crypto requires a little bit of research. If you know what you're doing, if you've looked into it, you're not just going in blind because a crypto token's trending on the internet, then potentially I could see it as a good investment. What I sort of preach is long-term investing over short-term investing. So having a mix between different assets, being diverse, but knowing what you're getting into, knowing what you're investing in, not just going in blind.
Yeah, definitely you need to do the research before start investing because you can't just decide on what platforms are saying. You need to do your own research.
Mhm.
Simple as that. So, what's been the most rewarding part of building a community around Islamic investing?
The most rewarding part is I had a consultation with a couple this morning, and hearing their journey of going from no investment and not investing because they didn't know how to having an investment portfolio, setting up one for their child, and having the education to make investment decisions that are in line with our faith, and then telling me that it was because of my video that sort of got them on the track. And I think that's the most rewarding part, hearing people's journeys, getting into investments, growing their wealth in a halal way, realizing there wasn't options, and then because of a video that they've watched of mine, and then now they've realized that they can invest and they can grow their wealth and that they can be a good Muslim and be wealthy. I think that's another big misconception that a lot of the Muslim community have is either you're a good Muslim or you're wealthy. You can't be both. And I think that it simply isn't true. If we look back at like the Sahaba back in the day, there were a lot of wealthy Sahaba, and because of them, Islam grew and Islam flourished and was able to, be spread across the world. And we need wealthier Muslims so that we can have a stronger community, I think. And I think hearing that from my audience, because of videos that they've watched, or because they followed me, I think is the most rewarding part of doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure it's kind of a jariya also for you actually, because that's what you're making people aware about.
Inshallah, yeah, I hope.
Inshallah. So I saw one of your Instagram posts sometime back when you were saving for your kid, right?
Yes.
Do you want to give everyone like
Um, yeah,
an
so
advice on that?
yes, I mean I'll tell everyone what I'm doing with my kids. So I've got two kids now, alhamdulillah. I've got a 2 and a quarter, about 27 months old, and then I've got a 7 month old. So before we had our first kid, we decided that we'd be investing for her. So what we did was we invested $10 a week for that first year she was born. And then when she turned one, we upped it to $20. And we're going to keep doing that every year she gets older. And we're doing the same with our son as well, where we're investing every single week for them both. The idea is that as they get older, they can get more involved in their investments, and that they have a better understanding of investing, first of all, but also like the value of money. And hopefully that teaches them good financial habits early on, and things like setting aside money for your future self instead of spending it all now, And then also we'd like to introduce like charity as part of that. So maybe they give a portion of their profits away to charity, and then sort of have a good, strong foundation in investing, but also in Islamic finance through this investing journey. And that's what we're doing. Because the reality is, you get gifts, you get money gifts from, family and friends. It sits in an account, maybe sometimes it gets used, but nothing's really happening with that. Whereas if we invest it, it'll grow, and hopefully by the time they're, 18, they'll have a large chunk of cash, which, they can do with whatever they need to do.
I am so inspired by this. And honestly, when I saw it, I was really inspired. I told many people about this and I shared your video with others when I
Thanks.
saw this that you're investing for them every single day, putting money aside.
Mhm.
Because if you keep money at home, it's not going to grow. Simple
Exactly.
as that. You need to invest.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I, try my best to, when people are not sure whether they should be investing or not, remind them of the importance of why specifically Muslims should be investing. And like the first one is inflation. Money that sits around each year is being devalued. As well as Muslims, we pay zakat. So if you have wealth that isn't being productively used, you'll be paying zakat on it. And I tell them it's not so that we reduce zakat. The idea is grow your wealth so that you can give more zakat, but use it in a productive way. And Islamic finance and Islam in general encourages productive use of wealth. There's no point saving, like just for the sake of saving. If you have a specific goal to save, then that's, can be a reason to save. Or if you're saving up for an emergency fund, once you've got enough money for an emergency, everything after that should be invested in some way or another. And a form of investment is investing in yourself. That's another important investment, investing in your education, investing in a business, investing in stocks, investing in crypto, whatever it is. I think just taking some form of investment with the money you have left over. And if you don't, try to grow your wealth so that you do have money that you can invest.
Definitely, everybody should try to invest so that they can eventually grow their wealth. It's not like
Hmm.
they can keep the money in the bank and it's going to grow.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen. Yeah, that's a very good advice, and I'm sure people will learn from this conversation as well that they should start investing today itself. Do not wait for tomorrow.
Hmm.
What do you think about this asset, real estate? Any
Hmm.
comments on real estate?
I think obviously it depends where you are based, and what the property market is like, which country you're looking at. Typically, it's a more stable investment. That's what we've been told anyway. I think there's a lot of sometimes pressure with young people to buy a property so that they, own their home. But I think the reality is things have changed. And you can still invest in property and access the property market through REITs, through property crowdfunding sites, things like that to still get a piece of the property market. But it can be very difficult to have enough capital to buy a property outright for the average young Muslim. So investing in like stocks or other forms of investment to grow your wealth so that you can maybe potentially buy a property in the future could be a good way of looking at it. As a form of investment itself, I think it's a good investment. Investment properties are great. Living in your own property, it depends. It's not always considered an investment because, you spend money on the property that you live in. But if you invest it out, then potentially you're receiving a higher return than the cost it takes to have that property. It varies by person and situation, but if you want to invest in the property market, but you don't have the capital to buy a property outright, there are ways around that. And Islamic finance companies have created investment platforms that allow you to do that.
I think so being Indians, for us, property investment is the only investment which people should do because it's a fixed asset, we can see it, and people, this is the misconception they have
Yeah,
actually, that
for sure.
it's a real asset. You can see it building.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the same with gold as well, right? Like the
Yeah,
physical gold, because we
yeah,
can see it either, right? I
exactly.
I have strong opinions when it comes to gold as a form of investment. Gold jewelry, I personally don't feel it's an investment, especially like because that jewelry ends up just getting passed down to, your kids and then their kids. No one ever sells it. So it ends up just becoming a piece of memorabilia as opposed to an actual investment. There are ways around that. You can invest in gold ETFs and things like that. And I think that's a form of investment when it comes to gold. But gold jewelry itself, I don't necessarily see it as an investment.
And then you have to give zakat on that as well. It's not
Exactly, exactly.
it's not like you're keeping it for free.
No, yeah, exactly. You're paying to keep the nostalgia, which is not a bad thing, but
Yeah,
it's not an investment.
exactly. So, okay, I want some advices for our audience from you. Just three, three or two, anything.
Mhm.
Like any advice you want to give whoever is looking to start the halal investment journey today.
Yeah, what I would say is you don't need a lot of money to start. A lot of the time, you can start with as low as like a couple of dollars. So get started and don't focus so much on saving up a certain amount to start investing. You don't need thousands of dollars. Start with what you have, um, and just get into the habit of setting aside money. It could be every single month, even if it's like $5 a month, it doesn't matter. But that creates a habit and then once you've done that, you can focus on earning more and then building that investment. So it's not about necessarily growing, thinking that for your $5 a month is going to make you millions because it probably won't. But it gets you into a good habit of setting aside money, and getting into the investing habit so that when you do have more money, hopefully it will make a difference, and hopefully, you can make those millions in the future, once you've grown your income. But don't let not having a lot of money stop you from investing today.
Definitely. And inshallah, it will help people grow their money. Definitely. Any advice to people who are starting this content creation thing, especially related to Islamic finance? Because we have seen young chaps doing some videos of reels and they're talking about Islamic finance. Any advice for them?
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Stick with it. I think being consistent with content is always important. You may find that not every single piece of content does well straight away. But it takes just like with investments, your views and your engagement compounds over time. So stick with it, be consistent, and try and improve and your content as you go along with your journey as much as you can. Simple things like having better audio quality, better video quality, but you don't need the fanciest camera to start out. I didn't have a camera when I started out making my videos. I was just using my phone, didn't have a mic, and then over the years, I've sort of bought more equipment to make my improve my content. But I think the biggest one would be consistency and just keep going with it and inshallah it'll pick up.
Inshallah. And may Allah get you a lot of followers. And one day I can see, inshallah, you have 1 million followers and you have actually made them inspired them actually by your journey and obviously convinced them to start investing in a halal way. So I
Inshallah.
think so that's a wrap for today's episode of Fintech Meets Faith. We hope you found this conversation insightful and inspiring. And if you enjoyed the discussion, don't forget to just like Mabrook, but also Muslim investing, wherein you can learn more and more about halal investments. And obviously, he has some great content. And since I know him since a long time, that's why I can say start following him, and inshallah, you'll be able to inspire yourself by his videos. A huge thank you to our guest, Muhammad Lambat, for sharing his experience and valuable insights. If you have any questions, let us know. And until next time, keep investing with purpose and integrity. Take care and Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.